Ears and Beers, episode 29. What's on tap? A gutsy win against UAB on the road. A reporter in Kentucky who deserves to get canceled. And some football signing day and bowl shenanigans. But first, as always, Adam Crowley, what are we drinking?
The homeland comes a calling. A pint of Guinness.
Dublin's finest. Love it. Love it. I'm sipping on a Hop Farm light lager. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the can right behind me. Prost, Adam Crowley, to a big win for the Mountaineers.
Oh, buddy, you ain't kidding. For a number of different reasons. If you don't mind, I might just go here.
Jump right in.
It's big because it counts as a road win, even though it wasn't in their home gym. It was in the new, beautiful Birmingham Arena. There would have been more fans there if UAB's football team wasn't playing in a bowl game at the same time. But
worked out well for us in that regard.
Massive. So West Virginia gets a road win against a top 50 net ranking team. UAB is UAB, but they sit where they sit in the net rankings. So this will count as a quad one win for West Virginia, only their second. Usually Bob Huggins' staff and Bob Huggins put together a great schedule that allows for them to accrue some wins that you wouldn't think would be great net wins, but actually are. This year's kind of been the opposite, and I think that was by design, given that this was a team that they had a lot of moving parts and they wanted them to gel. But now you've got two of those quad one wins. And the other thing that was encouraging from this standpoint, Wes, was that Taz Sherman had 2 points in the first half.
Yeah.
2. And guess what? You win the game.
Sean McNeil had 2 points as well, too.
That's huge.
Yeah.
It's massive, because if you would have told me that coming into the game, Wes, I would have said there's no chance they win.
They lose by double digits.
Yes. And they wind up 10-2 when they enter conference play against Texas to start that. And they got the second biggest win that they're going to get in their non-conference before they play Arkansas in the Big 12 SEC Challenge.
Yep.
A massive, massive win. This team has warts, but they play hard, and they were able to get a win when Taz Sherman and certainly Sean McNeil were not at their best.
Yeah, no, that's well said by you. And when you kind of lay it out there too, I think probably it's fair to say 3 biggest non-con games this season: UConn, UAB, and Arkansas. You got 2 of those 3 out of the way. You got 2 W's in those 2 games. We know Big 12, as always, but maybe even more so this year, conference play is going to be murderer's row. It's going to be a bloodbath. Like, you'll be fortunate to go 500 in conference play. I think all WVU fans need to accept that right now. This 10-1 start, and then hopefully you take care of business against Youngstown State next week. 11-1 start before going into conference play New Year's Day against Texas is massive, because right now I would sign in blood for 500 in Big 12 play. It's going to be very difficult, but I think you're right, man. Them keeping when you consider, one of the things you and I had talked about, a couple major concerns, maybe not even major concerns, but I think we laid out our 3 big concerns with this team were lack of an experienced ball handler. And man, you saw that at times tonight. Certainly. Lack of consistent third scoring option behind Taz and Sean. Like, when we inevitably have a day when those guys aren't going, who steps in, who fills that void? And then the third thing was rebounding. This is just a team that's not very good on the boards, not very good on the glass. If you would have told me, like you said, that Sean and Taz would be, pretty much no shows in the first half, we don't have to sugarcoat it. They had 4 points combined between the 2 of them until the very end of the first half. They had 1 field goal made between the 2 of them until Taz got that bucket. That might be the single most encouraging thing to me that's happened in this season so far. If you would have told me, like you said, that was going to be the case at halftime, we lose that game by double digits.
Yeah, it's massive. It really is. And I got to say, when I watched this team at the beginning of the season, my concern was they don't guard well enough to not hit the 3 ball the way that we thought that they'd hit the 3 ball coming in.
Right. And they were bad behind the arc again tonight.
And they haven't been good all season. And both Taz and Sean have been hit or miss. Sean was banged up for a game there. He's been dealing with that back issue. You need Jalen Bridges to start hitting threes. You need Isaiah Cottrell to start hitting those threes.
4 shots for Jalen Bridges is not he's too passive out there.
Yes, he is. He's deferring too much. And I thought actually Taz Sherman deferred too much in the first half too.
Agreed.
Go out there,
Sean
hunt
McNeil
your shot.
too.
Yeah, they just got to hunt their shots. Those 2 guys get whatever they want. Green light, you shoot it from wherever in the gym.
real quick too, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Feels like this is a
wait,
team.
real quick.
Yeah.
Because we might be all over the place. It is Saturday night. Wes and I, we're buzzing hard.
We're whooshed, as we like to say around here.
Whooshing it. We're drinking beers.
It.
We're having a great time. That's what this podcast is about, by the way. Every podcast is somebody's first podcast, right, Wes? So let's give a real quick refresher. We're not pretending to be the best analysts of West Virginia athletics. However, we are very tapped in.
Yep.
We are fans that are also analyzing the game. So you might get some off-the-wall fan-type takes from us, but it's because we care that way. And tonight we're a little bit drunk. Now go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And to add to that, we do cover sports for a living, Adam and I. We both work for iHeartMedia, for iHeartRadio in Pittsburgh. But yes, do not cover officially WVU other than the shenanigans we do here, drinking beers and watching the Eers. Another slow start. Like that seems like something that's kind of been a theme of this season early on for this team. 1 for 7 on their first 8 field goal attempts. You had the 2 back-to-back traveling calls in there early too. I'm with you. I think the only way to cure that is just Taz and Sean early and often.
Yeah, big time. And offensive sets to get Taz a clean look. Offensive sets to get Sean a clean look, because they take a lot of contested shots, and Taz makes a ton of contested, difficult shots.
That's 3 that he threw up with like 2.5 minutes left. You kidding me?
Okay, so he had 2 of those that I think really changed the game. The one was sort of he steps into it in front of the top of the key, spins behind the 3-point line, high arcing shot, bang. And it was his first 3 of the game, got him to 5 points. And then he started to pick it up. I mean, he had 15 in the second half. Sean McNeil had 10 in the second half. So they did wind up picking it up. But the most encouraging thing to me, Wes, from the beginning of the season until now is, I don't know if they're a great defensive team, but if you look at the metrics, they're a top 50-ish defensive team, which puts them in line with just about everybody in the Big 12.
Right.
But that's going to give them a shot. Like, they're playing hard. And one last thing on the defense. Bob Huggins said after the game that Kedrian Johnson is as good an on-ball defender as there is in the country.
Big night for him.
Boy, that's high praise, but for real, he is a menace when it comes to defending the ball, and he hit some big free throws down the stretch. I don't know that this is a great team or anything like that. Again, if they go 9-9 in the Big 12, they'll make the tournament, and that's great. If they go 8-10 in the Big 12, I think they might make the tournament.
I'd take it right now.
I would take it too. But the thing that I like, if you're a West Virginia fan, and you are because you're listening to the podcast, this team competes. This team has that effort.
They're easy to root for, man. They really are.
They are. And Bob Huggins, at the beginning of the year, it seemed like he was left wanting for that effort.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't like, we don't have to sugarcoat it. Oscar last year, Emmett Matthews last year, Derek Culver last year. While those 3 guys are all fine basketball players, each in their own different right and each to different skill sets, it felt like at times, obviously with Oscar, but the other 2 as well, they just didn't care. And I think it's a complete 180. It's a complete switch flip this season in that regard, which is refreshing.
Yeah. And they're switching up defenses, and they pressure the ball when need be, and they forced a couple of turnovers. And look, if they're going to defend that way, then they're going to have a shot in some games. And I think, when teams from the Big 12 come into the Coliseum, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. And the hope is that you can, hold serve as much as possible at home and then take a couple of games on the road. But, if I texted my one buddy, I might have texted you this too, Wes. Halfway through the the second half.
What would be the fourth quarter?
I'm drunk.
Whoosh. He's whooshing.
I was texting my buddy, Josh, and I said, Josh, I said, if I had to say right now, I don't think this team is making the tournament. And I don't know that I change my tune on that just because they win.
Tonight helps, though.
It helps big time. And you know what? They have found a way. And, when they played UConn, they raised their level of intensity based on the opponent. And they're only going to play good opponents really in the Big 12. And that I think gets you excited that they can continue to bring that effort game in, game out. It's a fun team to watch from that standpoint.
Buddy, I completely agree with you. Big, you know what, too? Last thing tonight for me, encouraging wise, how about Kerrigan?
Yeah, man.
That could be a big X factor going forward. I think we all know what you have in Gabe. I think we all we're figuring out what we have in Polycap, right? Like he's got his issues. Like he's not the most skilled guy, but my goodness,
Yeah.
he goes 110% out there. He brings the effort defensively. He's a good player that you need to have on your team. Felt like they needed another piece in there. You still want more from Isaiah Cottrell, obviously, and hopefully he'll continue to get more and more comfortable coming off of major Achilles surgery. But I was encouraged by Kerrigan tonight as well, too, because they needed another guy in that rotation. But yeah, man, like, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
they out rebounded them, which
is crazy.
Especially watching the game, didn't feel that way.
There was one sequence in the second half where UAB had 4 or 5 straight offensive. Like I was pulling my hair out, standing on the couch. Not really, but almost standing on the couch. Unbelievable. You know what? They finished the game, for all their credit, right? For as maddening as they were in the first, probably 33 minutes. Crowley, they finished the game ahead in rebounds, and they finished down the stretch. I heard Tony Critti say this on the post game right before you and I hopped on the Zoom. 9 of 10 at the line down the stretch.
Right. Which is crazy.
That's balls, man. That's cojones. Like that is, you know what? We did not have our best effort tonight. We didn't have the full 40-minute effort that you want, right? But man, when it came to winning time, they were able to put it together. And
Wes,
that's going to serve you well in March. It is. If you know,
to that point,
if all things go well to there. Yeah.
If you get there, but
right.
UAB was outscored 23-8 over the final 8 minutes. I mean, go get it. They went and got it. West Virginia went and got it.
That's awesome.
It's tremendous. And frankly, 90% of this game, I'm watching and I'm saying, it's done. It's over. It's just not their night. And they're going to play tougher teams than UAB. There's no question about it. But this is a good UAB team, one that I expect to make the big dance.
We'll probably should win Conference USA, it feels like.
I think so.
Yeah.
And you fly down to Bama, you go into their hometown, and you win the game. You mentioned Kerrigan. He goes up over the rim, couple of dunks.
Oh. Yeah, is the answer like
when they out rebounded him and
Polycap at the 5, right? Cottrell at the 4, Bridges at the 3, and then maybe just let Taz and Sean handle the ball. Like
they played 2 bigs tonight more than they have, and I think that they thought that they needed to do that. Given
you don't have a classic ball handler on this roster, so you might as well get your best players on the court. That's where I'm at this point.
My thing is, I'm okay if Taz is that dude, but the problem is that he played 40 minutes the other night. And that makes a difference when you're taking the ball up the court every time and you're playing that many minutes because you just simply have to. I'm worried about how that wears on him.
That's a very great point by you.
But they out rebounded UAB. They have a 7-footer in the middle, and they did so because they played 2 bigs a lot of the time. I don't know that Huggins knows what his optimum lineup is at this point. I just hope that Isaiah Cottrell can find it more as the season goes on.
Him and Jalen Bridges feel like the two that can really take that next step.
I think Bridges I think he's a pro athlete. And
he might be the best athlete on the team other than Taz.
I agree. And we saw last year, he's a corner 3 magician. He just needs to take the shot.
He's got to be more. Him and Sean McNeil both need to be more selfish sometimes. Like, it's okay. Be more selfish.
Do you agree with me that Sean McNeil is like a major head case? Like, I think.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if that's exact,
early on.
That's like he's Alex Ruoff in that regard.
Yeah.
Like,
although tonight, he had 10 in the second half, but
when he's stroking, it's like his eyes get big as gold coins, and the size of the hoop grows. Like the Grinch's heart at the end of Whoville.
look at
when he's cold, he's Alex Ruoff against Louisville on game day and like 0 for 22 or whatever it was.
When they played Baylor last year, West Virginia, Sean McNeil just made tough shot after tough shot.
Yeah.
And so did Taz.
Did he ever?
And I mean, that's there. I bet one night this year they're playing at Kansas, probably not on the road, but they're going to play someone on the road. And those guys are going to get hot. Like, you're going to see Sean McNeil go.
I hope so. like
five
8 of 13 or something like that.
Yeah, and like
8 of
5 of
14.
7 for 3, and they're gonna turn around the opposition and go, well, shit. But you'd like to see a little bit more consistency there.
Yeah.
But listen,
if we want to get where we're trying to go, which is, not sweating on Selection Sunday.
Yeah, and I think that's a realistic expectation for this year's team. I think
I just don't want to be sweating on Selection Sunday.
Usually if we're sitting there at the end of the season and you're floating around 500 in Big 12 play, I think we'd all be going, damn. But I think this year, given what they lost,
Agreed.
I think that you would be thrilled that they're sitting in that spot at the end of the year. And I think their effort gives them the opportunity to do that. We'll just have to see what happens. It's a great conference.
It was stressful. It was maddening, but it was gutty. And that's a win that's going to play big in March, I think. You good with moving on, Crow Man? As he slugs his Guinness. Come on. All right, Crowley, can we talk about Kyle Tucker? Can we talk about The Athletic? Can we talk about Oscar Tshiebwe and Bob Huggins and this hack piece clickbait journalism?
I don't think it was hack.
No, I don't either. But I think after the fact, with Oscar clarifying, like the fact that they haven't made any changes to the article, hack. Can I rant for 90 seconds? Okay.
Yeah. And initially it wasn't hack, but
correct.
Now it's hack.
Yes, correct. Initially, you know what? When I first read the story, I even tweeted to the guy. I said, props to you for going out and getting Bob Huggins' response for this story. Yes. But then when Oscar comes back and said, oh, this wasn't exactly how it happened, and this wasn't a direct quote from Bob Huggins, it was from somebody around WVU, and it's been over 24 hours, and you tweeted about it, Kyle Tucker, but you still haven't changed anything in the article. Like, dude, I love The Athletic. You and I both live in Pittsburgh. We mostly cover the Steelers, but the Penguins are in our building too. Our iHeart is a flagship of the Penguins. You and I both love the Penguins. I think it's safe to say they are our favorite Pittsburgh sports team as two kids who grew up in Pittsburgh. I subscribed to The Athletic day one in 2016 because nobody in this town covers the Penguins like The Athletic.
Not even close.
I might be being hyperbolic here, but I might cancel my subscription over this. Like this is ridiculous to me. And to be fair, I gotta be fair. I was already yesterday when this all happened. I was already hacked off about two things. Okay, the first is PennDOT messed up my first name. They misspelled my first name on my car registration renewal.
It's 3 letters.
They spelled, instead of Wesley, Wesley, they sent it to me Welsey. They switched the 2 middle letters. I have to pay $58 to get it fixed for a mistake that PennDOT made.
Fuck.
And then, same thing, this would have been Wednesday night. We got new neighbors, Crowley, moving in. They decided to move in at 10 o'clock on Wednesday night when we finally got our 9-week-old daughter down to sleep like 20 minutes earlier. And these assholes are moving in at 10 o'clock at night.
Did she wake up?
She didn't, but you know what? Like I'm surprised she didn't because there was a lot of, there was a lot of noise being made in the driveway next door. So you combine those two things, and then I wake up and all this stuff happens with Kyle Tucker tweeting out, "Oh, Oscar said that this wasn't real, and he never really said this." And then you don't like the article is still up. So that to me is just garbage from what I thought was a very credible publication.
I'm happy you went the way that you went, Wes, because I think that the author deserves some vitriol tossed in his direction for not updating it. I give him full marks for going and talking to Bob Huggins.
Yes,
like you said,
that part is great because he could have just gotten Oscar's side and ran with it.
Big time. And that happens a lot, especially when you're talking about players in the player empowerment age. You're going to believe what they have to say. So I'm happy you went after Kyle because I don't think he's done a good enough job here now of updating the story the way it needs to be updated. He did put the tweet, but fine. Go update the story. I'm happy you didn't go after Oscar because there's two things here. One, he's young and it's been a difficult year plus for him, the way that things have gone. But the other thing is English is not his first language.
That's also true. Great point.
I just wonder if he fully knew what he was saying when he accused Huggins of these things.
That's actually a fair point by you. When he didn't grow up here in this country. There's probably some translation, lost in translation there.
He wasn't giving his full effort at the end of his time in West Virginia, which irked Bob Huggins big time. But from all accounts, Oscar Tshiebwe was a nice young man who wanted what was best for himself.
And just got some bad advice, maybe. Or not even bad,
horrendous advice.
Or just he clearly the entire time had a lot of people in his ear. Yeah.
Yes. And Bob Huggins was talking about that almost from day one. So this was always a possibility.
Correct.
Him leaving. What happened, in my opinion, and I guess Oscar sort of clarified this at the end of the day, was the people who probably pushed him to Connecticut were also telling him that Bob Huggins said some bad things. The national perception of Bob Huggins is that he's this hard-ass jackhole who is so old school that he's going to treat his players like they're clay and he's going to pound them into submission.
Even though the most famous moment of his career is him consoling a crying Deshaun Butler on the court in Indianapolis at the Final Four, he's thought of as this hard ass who just makes his players run on the treadmill.
When Derek Culver was making his decision, Bob was saying that maybe another year would be the best for him. And I don't think he's wrong in that. He allowed Deuce McBride.
By the way, Culver's not playing basketball anywhere right now. In case everybody knows that. He's not playing basketball anywhere. So, I mean, Huggins was right in that regard.
He also helped Derek Culver turn his life around.
Yes.
By all accounts. So, Bob Huggins is a hard ass adjacent kind of guy, but
he's certainly rough around the edges. I mean, we don't need to deny that.
But he cares about his players.
Yeah.
And he does want to see the best for them. And a lot of people bring up the graduation rate stuff at Cincinnati, which, frankly was bullshit back then, but that's not the case here. It has never been the case at West Virginia. He cares about these guys improving as human beings. So when I saw it happen, whenever I saw the piece, I should say, I was frustrated because I knew how it would get looked at from a national perspective. But
that's what bothers me too, because it's just it's easy to we throw dirt on West Virginia and then we move on, and the article never gets corrected. There's never any any editor's notes or any clarifications, and everyone just thinks, oh yeah, Bob Huggins is an asshole, typical West Virginia. Like that's part of what peeves me too, is that it's it's just West Virginia is a place where, let's be honest, there's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of negative misconceptions and preconceived notions. And I don't think stuff like this helps when people see that initial quote, right? Because that for 90% of college basketball fans, they see that initial Oscar Tshiebwe saying, Bob Huggins told me he was going to ruin my life. And they think, oh, wow, that's a shitty thing. And then they move on and they never see they never see the correction. They never see, well, Oscar actually clarified it wasn't Huggins who said that. And as someone whose initials are WVU and who's raised in the blue lot and both my parents went to school there, I get a little fired up about these things.
I just hope that before Bob Huggins hangs it up, that he has another Final Four caliber team. Whether or not they get there, we'll see. But every day that passes, I think that Bob gets closer and closer to retirement. And that's obvious because every day that passes, he literally does.
Hey, every day that passes, Adam, you and I are getting closer to retirement too. I mean, he's simple physics for you there.
The transfer portal stuff has been hard on him from an adjustment standpoint.
Yeah.
And to get slandered this way, or I guess libeled this way.
Yeah, there you go. See, now that's good journalism, Kyle Tucker.
It's just got to be hard on him. So I hope that he gets another team that is a legitimate national kind of contender before he hangs it up. And I would imagine he'll hang around till he thinks he's got that opportunity. But I don't know how many years Bob Huggins has left, because stuff like this has to drive him crazy. It just does.
Yeah. When you are, you're right. When you're kind of cut from that different cloth, you can't love all this. Yeah. Go ahead.
He is a guy that is easy to root for if you follow the program day to day, because he expects the best out of his players, but he raises all kinds of money for cancer research. He's consistently talking about how he wants these guys to live their best life and how he cares about coaching men. And I just want him to finish his career with an opportunity to win something again, but also for people to understand that that is what Bob Huggins is.
He's unique. He definitely is. He's Frank Sinatra. Like, he's going to do it his way.
He says some stupid shit. I mean, he does.
Him take, like, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because him taking that unsolicited shot at Oscar earlier in the season,
not cool.
It wasn't cool. And I think you and I actually said that on a previous podcast, that we didn't think that was necessary or cool. we didn't think that was hip. And that
he said that yesterday.
Him. That doesn't help him when this stuff. What exactly did he? I saw that tweeted too, but what exactly did he say?
I don't have the quotes in front of me.
But he shot earlier in the year.
Yeah, he was emotional after a game and he let fly. Listen, he's allowed to feel the way that he does, but like to localize it to Pittsburgh, Kenny Pickett said after the ACC championship,
I plan on playing in the bowl game.
But you know why he said it? Because he's fired up with his boys,
he's
right?
Emotional, yeah.
He's emotional.
In the moment,
I'm okay with that.
Same
and
here.
Bob Huggins, emotional. But the difference is Kenny Pickett, still college athlete walking off his field. Bob Huggins, a coach for these 40 plus years.
You got to know a little bit better.
You got to know better than to throw a young athlete under the bus. You just have to know better. And I think he regrets it, but he's an emotional guy. He wants to win.
I think that's well said, Adam Crowley.
Football?
Before we get out of here, a little football.
Football.
One more pro steer. But I got taken this week here.
Slancha, another beer.
Crowd man,
Yeah,
I have got a piece of advice for every WVU sports fan out there. And that is to find somebody in life who loves you as much as the Stills brothers love West Virginia football. Darius goes out with a bowl win. Dante is going to give us the same opportunity. And you know what? This is how, honestly, I don't know if I said this on a previous podcast or not, but when the season ended, I had a feeling Letty would opt out and Dante Stills would play. And honestly, I thought that was the best decision for both. If you're a running back and you've got the tape, you've got the resume, why would you play? It's the thinnest tire tread of any position. We all know. I mean, a lot guys like Le'Veon Bell are finished at 28 years old. I mean, it's an insane position. It's an insane grind. There's no need to risk you going out there and tearing an ACL. Not worth it. For Stills, I would have understood if he didn't play as well. But you know what? He's got his dad played for the program. His brother played for the program and went out with a bowl victory despite being the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And he could have very easily sat out against an Army team that was cut blocking like crazy and no one would have blamed him. I think for Dante too, though, you go out there, a lot of people poo-poo Big 12 defense, right? And it's BS. I mean, Oklahoma State and Baylor were two of the best defenses in the country.
Totally different
this year. Ohio State just hired a defensive coach from the Big 12, but yeah, the Big 12 doesn't play defense and it's all garbage. Dante Stills, though, you go out there against Minnesota, a team that has a pretty good offense, a team that runs the ball pretty well, and you have a big performance. I think he could, I don't think there was any way Letty could change his draft stock, really. If Letty went out there and ran for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, was he all of a sudden going to get drafted a lot higher? Probably not. But if Dante Stills goes out there and has a sack, a tackle and a half for loss, and 9 or 10 total tackles against a Big 10, I think there's opportunity for him to still put more good tape on his resume, more good tape on that highlight reel. I think this was the decision I thought was coming for both. This was the decision I thought was right for both. And man, I love how much the Stills brothers love West Virginia football. It warms my heart.
I definitely agree on the latter. I mean, the Stills brothers just hanging in there and playing out the string, bro.
Love those guys.
That's cool AF. It just simply is.
And like I said, I wouldn't have been upset if either of them would have done the opposite. But I love them for the fact that they wanted to play. Because that it's just as simple. They just want to play one more game for WVU.
Yes. And I love that too. And had it been the opposite, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Anybody makes a decision for themselves.
Yeah, do what's best for you.
I don't know that either guys are higher
you don't agree
mid-round draft picks.
I agree with you on that. Do you think Dante, you agree with me that he could boost his stock a little bit or not? You think maybe I'm reaching a little bit there?
I don't know that you're wrong. I think I think the cumulative tape for either guy is going to matter more than a bowl game.
Sure.
Either way.
Absolutely.
I think Letty Brown, Neil Brown talked about this year on his radio show, but he said Letty Brown is a football player that if we had to have him on defense, he'd play linebacker, and we think he'd be good there too. I think Letty Brown, if he's going to stick in the NFL, he's going to have to run down on kicks, blow people up. I think he's going to have to play special teams. And boy, he's put his body through a whole hell of a lot. And, people always seem to discuss when it comes to these bowl games that, well, if you blow out your knee, well, then it's not about just that. It's what if you mess up your ankle, or you get a Liz Frank or something, and you got to miss 3 months, and you miss a combine invite, or you miss a Senior Bowl situation. Even if you're going to be okay to start next season, even if you're going to be okay in a couple of months, just you can't prepare your body well enough to get ready for those key draft moments. Right. And I will never fault an athlete either way. Now, selfishly, I'd like these guys to play because I want to watch them play another time as a Mountaineer.
Absolutely.
But if they don't, I get it. I get it. And, it seems like Pat Narduzzi, the head coach of the University of Pittsburgh, has changed his tune big time as it relates to players skipping out on bowl games, because in 2016, he was anti that when Christian McCaffrey did it. In 2019, before the Nobody Cares Bowl against Eastern Michigan, he was saying that his players, you don't got to worry about that with his players. But Pat Narduzzi's come around, I think, at least publicly, because he knows you want pro players to play for you. Neil Brown's a lot more couth. He's a lot more savvy when it comes to speaking to the media. And I think just more worldly in his views and the understanding of youth.
Yeah.
Neil Brown ain't got a problem with this either. And that's the best thing for the program. So I think the best thing overall happened. One guy leaves, one guy stays.
Agreed.
And both can be spun when it comes to recruiting circles. So, hey, I just can't wait to watch them play one more time on the 28th, because when they're done,
same here.
It's 8 months, baby. It's 8 months.
Buddy, I agree. That's why, I know there's a real faction amongst sports fans of people who care about bowl games, don't care about bowl games. But if you are a proper college football fan, how could you not just want to watch your team? You only get them 12 times a year. Why would you not want, unless you make a conference championship game or, but yeah, I'm with you. I just want to watch them play one more time. At 10:15 on a Tuesday, baby. Woo.
But don't be the fan that gives Letty Brown shit.
No.
I saw a lot of people giving Kenny Pickett shit. Very small minority.
Yeah.
But those are the ones you see on twitter.com. Don't give those guys shit.
Just don't be that person. Can I do a real quick take for you?
You want people to come to your school.
Right. Now, granted, every college football fan base is psychotic, but yes, you want people to come to your school. Crowley, I feel like we like to act like these things. I got a take for you to get us out of here. Yeah. I feel like we act like these things are mutually exclusive. Everyone is either on one side of the fence or the other, but I believe both to be true. The first is I am happy that these guys are prioritizing their health, their future as us young people, even though Crowley and I are 30 and 31 years old. Secure the bag. That's what we like to say. I also, though, I don't like the fact that no bowl games matter except for the college football playoff. Is that cool for me to think both things? Here, if I was, and this is even funny to say, right? If I was a diehard Pitt fan, my God, they're the team, the institution that I hate most in this world. Growing up a diehard WVU fan in Pittsburgh my entire life. Yeah, the amount of incest jokes that were heard at my mother and I going to backyard brawls. Yeah, the Monday after 13-9 when I came into high school and all my buddies had taped fake national championship tickets to my locker. If I was a massive Pitt fan, while I would not be upset at Kenny at all, there would also be that selfish part of me that's like, hey man, we haven't won a major bowl game since 1981. I would like to go. Our signature win right now is against Wake Forest. I would like to go beat Michigan State in the Peach Bowl. And that's just, again, that's the selfish, grew up on college football. It's my favorite sport. It's my favorite team. the Sugar Bowl against Georgia, the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma, the Orange Bowl against Clemson. Those are some of my favorite memories in my sports life. And I know that those would be different now if they played out because those games wouldn't matter nearly as much. Bruce Irvin and Sammy Watkins wouldn't have played in the Orange Bowl in 2012 if that game was going to be in 2022. Is that fair? That like, is that, am I allowed to have both of those feelings that I'm not upset with these guys? Kenneth Walker, Kenny Pickett, go get paid. But that I also, like, as someone who just effing loves college football, I hate that there's only 3 games that matter now in the postseason. And it's the semifinal and it's the national championship.
Well,
game.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Do you think that these bowl games don't matter because players are leaving? Or do you think that players are leaving because these bowl games don't matter?
Oh, chicken or the egg.
Well, it's interesting to me.
I think we've created this facade because, again, I don't agree with it, but I think the majority of sports fans do, that the only thing that matters is the playoff. And I think the players have, these guys are 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. The playoff just started 6 years ago. So a lot of these guys were 16, 17 when the playoff began. They've just kind of been raised that way. When you and I were growing up, the Fiesta Bowl was a big deal. The Orange Bowl was a big deal.
Yeah,
the Rose Bowl, the Pac-12. You get USC versus Ohio State or Michigan every year. It was great on New Year's Day. But these guys now, Kenny Pickett's and Kenneth Walker's and Letty Brown's, they didn't grow up with that same thing. And now, if your team is 6-6 and your WVU and your Letty Brown, don't effing play the bowl game. But like, if I'm a Pitt fan, I want to beat Michigan State. I want to win a major bowl game, and I want to finish in the top 10, something that we haven't done in 40 years selfishly, right? Like I'm not
I'm fine with that.
I'm not angry tweeting Kenny Pickett. I'm not doing any of that BS. But selfishly, I'm like, this game, if I'm a Pitt fan, the Peach Bowl matters to me, right? Like if WVU goes to a New Year's 6 game in the next 2, if it's 2023, right? And Nico's a sophomore and we win the Big 12 and we go to a New Year's 6 game, it matters to me. Because I effing love the program and those things mattered my entire life until 5-6 years ago.
I think that it's the players leaving that makes these games not matter.
I think you're right.
Because
if Pickett and Kenneth Walker were playing, a lot more people would be watching this game.
My point though is now you've got 4 teams that have a shot at a national championship. Before it was only 2.
It needs to expand now because
it does. But what's the big difference between 2 and 4? You wouldn't think that the jump from 2 to 4 would make the games matter less, though. Wes, is what I'm saying.
David Ubben, who covers, he used to cover the Big 12 for ESPN. I think he works for the Athletic. He tweeted like only 4. There's been, I think, so 6 years, right? 6 years or 7 years of the playoff. 7 years of the playoff so far.
I think 2014 was the first year.
So there's been 8 years of the playoff
this is,
then,
right?
14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22. 8 years of the play. Yes, 16. There's been 16 semifinal games in college football playoff history.
Mm-hmm.
4 of them have been 1-score games. That's it. We're deciding that everything else doesn't matter when the semifinal games mostly suck too. Like it just, again, as a college football lover, I don't like it. The soul of the game has changed forever. I understand that. I'm not happy about it.
But I don't understand it is what I was going to say.
Okay. See, I like that from you.
You go from 2 teams to 4 teams. Why all of a sudden do the New Year's 6 games not matter when they used to matter just because 2 extra teams are invited to the party? I'll tell you what my thought is just that a couple of guys had the guts to skip those games or skip bowl games, big time draft picks, Christian McCaffrey's, and that set a precedent. And I think that ultimately determined that if you're not in the college football playoff,
Jalen Smith's injury, I think, played a big part in this too.
Yes. So I'll actually go with the players skipping.
Was going to be a top 10, 15 pick out of Notre Dame. He tears his ACL in the New Year's 6 bowl, and he ends up being a 2nd round pick and missing his entire rookie year. That I think spearheaded a lot of this.
I don't know.
My mic messed up?
No, you're good. It froze probably from my internet.
Okay.
I don't know that there is a solution. I mean, when you
expand the playoff, it feels like the only solution
but it's not a solution
because if Pitt and Michigan State was a quarterfinal game, Kenneth Walker and Kenny Pickett would both play, right?
Yeah,
quarterfinal playoff game.
They will, but you've got a 12-team playoff, so 6 games there to start, right? Or however they wind up organizing it. But outside of that, then you're going to have the same thing, just a trickle out effect.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good call by you.
So I don't know that the bowl system is ever going to remotely be what it used to be.
No, it's not. Listen, the toothpaste is, even as someone who wishes it was like it used to be, the toothpaste is out of the tube in that regard.
You know what's funny though?
It ain't going. You ain't putting that Jello back in the box, Mike Tomlin.
You know what's funny though?
What?
People are going to watch the shit out of these games. They do. I mean,
buddy, I took NIU plus 12 last night, and I was sweating out that 6-point loss that they had to Coastal Carolina, but I still covered, baby.
That 10-15 slot that West Virginia is playing in this year, 2 years ago, did like 2.5 million viewers, which is what the ACC championship did.
We should just cancel all these bowl games. No one cares. Compared to what? Like the only thing that's drawn more viewers than these bowl games is NFL Sunday. Like they're still drawing more than the NBA and the NHL, and about as much, almost as much in some cases as some MLB playoff games. Like, yeah, give your head a shake.
Fans care. The players, for legitimate reasons, don't
agree.
And that's
legitimate reasons. I agree. That's fair to say. Yeah.
And that's the problem with the New Year's Six now. It's not the playoffs. So whatever. And I think the players were the drivers behind that. I'm okay with it given the reasons why, but it does stink because it was a huge part of our childhood growing up watching those games.
I think we'll talk a little bit more about this in college football playoff and dig deeper during the offseason. Yeah. Sound like a summertime topic for you here on the pod?
Sounds like West Virginia basketball's 10-1.
Woo! Speaking of West Virginia basketball, how about our boy Deuce McBride, baby? Is it too early for me to ask for a Deuce jersey for Christmas?
No, you're reading my mind. Read my mind.
The Knicks. I mean, listen, I will become a Hennessy drinking New York Knicks bing bong fan so fast. Like, I don't think you know. Oh, go New York, go.
Just tell me whether you're getting the blue or the white, because I'll get the opposite. Do you know, this is a funny story I haven't told on the podcast.
Just real quick, the only time I wear basketball jerseys ever is at the beach.
Okay.
So I should probably go white, just because it's going to be like 95 degrees in Hilton Head when I'm wearing said Deuce McBride jersey.
Well, you want to look tan, and I think the best chance for you is
in my German and English blood, I tan very well.
Yeah, you don't. Nor do I. I just become one giant freckle. But
we are Caucasian.
I got a Oscar Tshiebwe jersey last year.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you did. And a Kevin Pittsnogle one too, right? At least, hey.
I did get the Pittsnogle.
You're batting 500, baby.
But the funny story is I ordered off like DHgate from China, right?
Right. $34 or something like that.
Oh, it was like $7 and they mail it. It takes 15 months to get here.
Yep.
The jersey got here the day after Oscar Tshiebwe transferred. And I sent all my West Virginia friends, including you,
I remember you texting me this now, actually. And I think
the day after he flipping transferred, I got his jersey.
I think you texted me and just all you said, the message was F me.
Yep. College sports, baby. That's why we love him.
Listen, Deuce won't break our hearts like Oscar will, baby. He's going to. Can you imagine a world like 3 or 4 years from now where Deuce is one of the better point guards in the NBA and he's playing in the Mecca? Like, bro, come on. And
you got Javon Carter playing for the Nets too. It's good times.
Yeah, maybe he was the one who gave Kyrie Irving COVID, so keep him away.
No,
keep Javon's rep up.
Kyrie Irving gave Kyrie Irving COVID-19.
Crowd, man, this was fun, dude. I mean, we've been rolling. This is a long podcast. This is a good one. We had plenty to talk about. I love it. Great stuff.
Yeah, I just wish I was closer to another beer. That's all.
Yeah, me as well too. So let's cut this off and then we can refill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably it's Saturday night, the 18th, post UAB as we record this. Probably won't record another one till the bowl game, because the basketball team only plays Youngstown State unless something crazy happens and we need an emergency podcast. It's Christmas. I'm going to be in Philly with the in-laws all week. So we'll talk around bowl game time, around the new year.
Real quick, 2 sentences. I don't know. Haven't counted in my head.
2 sentences.
Really good recruiting class from Neil Brown.
Yeah, Nico.
You get Nico, you wind up 22nd in Rivals, 22nd in ESPN, 31st in 24/7.
Yeah.
That's really good. Competitive with the rest of the Big 12, apart from the Big Two that
third in the Big 12, right?
Third for two of the websites, right? Rivals and ESPN, and then I think fifth on 24/7. But
Okay.
by all accounts, they should have an opportunity if these guys pan out. You never know, to be right up there in the
Nico
Big 12.
Marchio, baby. He's
Chosen
our
one.
baby. He may or may not have DM'd the Ears and Beers Twitter account.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. All right. So just stand by. We got plenty going for you. Adam Crowley, Wesley Euler, everybody enjoy your Christmas. And talk soon. Am I forgetting anything, Crowley? I think that's it, right?
I think you're just supposed to say, let's go Mountaineers.
Let's go drink some beers.